Monday, May 8th, 2023, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So we're seeing that China is still buying a lot of gold. Some news came out the other day that they bought, I think, another 8 tons in April. So they've been acquiring a lot of gold since November. I think it's 120 tons. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what it means, not just for China and other countries that are doing it, but for you as well. And not just gold, but silver. Before I do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the New World Order. Yes, the New World Order, the globalists. Many people who cover that subject are called conspiracy theorists, and the mainstream press still labels those people as kooks, right-wing nuts. But I've been looking into this matter for many years. A lot of the things that are starting to come out now about what's going on in the world as it pertains to the New World Order, to the globalists, I twigged on to about 20 years ago. Yeah. And even here on the channel, I've covered it before. But I've come to the conclusion that one of the ways to defeat them is to actually strangle their financing. And how do you do that? Well, you get outside the system as much as possible, in the financial and monetary system. And that's why I've been trying to cover more the monetary side of it, trying to explain to people how our monetary or non-monetary system really works, because we don't have money in our system. But if you do want to watch some of my videos about the New World Order, I do have a playlist. It has about 7 videos in it. And there's a few from 6 years ago, quite a few from 5 years ago. I made one recently, actually 2 months ago, and it's entitled Blair and Haig Call for Digital ID and a Socialist Nightmare. Yes, socialist are only the Democrats and labor socialists. No, not by any stretch of the imagination. They're all socialists. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to recommend a couple of books today. Actually, I was going to recommend only one. But yeah, read The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. Also listen to some of G. Edward Griffin's interviews. And what G. Edward Griffin calls collectivism. And what does that mean? Well, it's when politicians and leaders and people in general say, we have to do this. Anytime they try to put you into a group, that they are collectivizing you. They're infringing on your individual liberty. So yeah, I recommend The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. It's about the Federal Reserve and how it was planned and created by the bankers. But I also recommend that you listen to some of his interviews. And he also did a really good interview with Norman Dodd back in the 80s. He was a very interesting character, Norman Dodd, and I recommend that one too. So one of the videos I did 2 years ago was The New World Order and the Vatican Officially Tie the Knot. 6 years ago, or 5 years ago, I did a video, New World Order, Divide and Conquer, alive and well in the UK. Yes, they will divide and try to conquer you. They're going to keep you divided. And why do they do that? What's the divide and conquer strategy all about? Well, it's to try to keep you so distracted with things that really are not that important, that you don't look at the important things like the money, like the corruption. And what's the other book? Well, the other book is this one here, The Mandibles by Lionel Shriver. And this was recommended to me back in early 2019 by one of the viewers. And I bought it in January 2019. I showed it yesterday in the live stream, and Rafi said, well, have you read it? I said, of course I have. He said, oh, it looks so new. But I checked on my Amazon account, and I bought it in January 2019. And actually, I couldn't put it down once I started reading it. And it's about a dystopian world in 2029. And it says the U.S. national debt has grown so enormous that it can never be repaid. Well, we know now in 2023 that the debt held by the public, and that doesn't include all the national debt, is going to be almost 50 trillion by 2033. And that's not me like guessing. It's the Congressional Budget Office talking about it. Right now it's around 24 trillion, the 31.4 trillion national debt. That includes debt held by the Federal Reserve and other government agencies. So, and it says the dollar is in meltdown. A bloodless international currency war will wipe out the savings of millions of American families. So this is about the formerly formidable Mandible family. And I think it will give you some kind of idea what the world will be like. It, of course, is not going to be exactly the same as this, but highly recommend the Mandibles. So back to China and gold. There is the old saying, of course, that he who has the gold makes the rules. And that's why the United States was able to become top dog back in 1944, because they had been accumulating gold, quite a lot of gold. And how did they do that? Well, they stayed out of World War I for most of that war, but they were providing a lot of stuff to Europe, and they made a fortune. The U.S. made a fortune. Thousands of new millionaires were created. I recommend you read as well War is a Racket by Smedley Butler. He talks about that. So Europe destroyed itself, ruined itself, literally, and America had all the gold. And World War II, the same thing. America kept out most of was not really impacted physically. That's what I have to say. Yeah, America only entered in 41. The war had been going on for over 2 years. And again, America provided a lot of the stuff for the Allies. So by 1944, when you had the Bretton Woods conference to design a new currency system, America had about 2/3 of all the gold reserves, sovereign gold reserves, if you want to call it that. And that's why it was able to dictate the terms of the deal. So America had the gold and made the rules. And now we're seeing, of course, that a lot of countries in the non-Western sphere of influence, the BRICS countries and others that are actually looking to join the BRICS, they've been buying the most gold in recorded, since records have started by the World Gold Council. Since that Bretton Woods agreement, we saw last year, a huge amount of net gold buying by these countries, and it's continuing this year. And these people are not dumb, of course. They know that to be able to deal in their own currency, those currencies have to have some kind of gold backing. They have to have gold. And the other thing they've learned, of course, is that they have to do it together, because if only one country did it, the United States would put a stop to it very quickly. But when all countries are coming together, there's a better chance. So this came out May 7th, which is actually yesterday, on Bloomberg. China's gold splurge reaches 6 month as reserves rise again. We'll quickly go through this, and I would add that there are many analysts out there, like Alistair McLeod and also Ronan Manley from Bullion Star, who have done a lot of research, and they think that the Chinese government has actually more like 20,000 metric tons. So this might not sound a lot compared to the 8,300 metric tons that are supposed to be in Fort Knox and other depositories in the U.S. And a lot of people really doubt that number is real. A lot of people think that gold is encumbered in terms it's being leased out many times. But let's see what it says here. China added to its gold reserves for 6th straight month, extending a flurry of purchases as central banks around the world expand their holdings of bullion amid escalating geopolitical and economic crisis. China raised its gold holdings by about 8.09 tons in April, according to data from the State Administration of Foreign Exchange on Sunday. Total stockpiles now sit at 2,076 tons after the nation increased reserves by 120 tons in the 5 months through March. Central banks have purchased large amounts of gold in the past year to diversify assets as well as to protect reserves from the impact of a weakening dollar and rampant inflation. While inflows moderated in the first quarter of 2023, volumes were still at historically elevated levels, according to the World Gold Council. Singapore, China, Turkey were among the biggest buyers. I'm going to stop right here. Singapore, they've increased their gold reserves in 2023 by 45%. It'll be interesting to see if Brazil does anything related to gold, because in 2021, Brazil also increased its reserves by about 60%, I think. So what I'm trying to say here, this is not more than just trying to diversify away from the dollar. It's more about sovereignty. It's about being independent. And I think it applies to individuals as well. And you can do it through physical gold. You can do it through physical silver. And that's why I've been talking about this since I started this channel in late 2015. And there are other things as well, of course, that, in my opinion, makes individuals independent, financially independent, sovereign. You can ignore pretty much what the New World Order is doing. Yes, I know that in 2020-21 it affected everyone, but it's your state of mind as well. You need to let all the distractions pass through your head. Yes, you know that they're out there, but just ignore it. Don't I think waste your energy looking into it. Focus on yourself, on what you do, your family, friends, the community that you're involved in. And that's what I try to do here on this channel. Try to give my opinion on what is the right thing to do, really. And with the matter of gold and economic freedom and sovereignty, I will recommend another couple of articles, and I'm going to put them in the description. One is by Howard Buffett, Warren Buffett's father, about gold and economic freedom. And also by Alan Greenspan, who was the chairman of the Federal Reserve. He wrote a really good piece about gold and economic freedom as well back in 1966. Howard Buffett's piece was from 1948. And it will show you that, the only way, and if you might think, oh, it won't make a difference if I do it because millions of people, they don't know this. But little by little, if people start moving away and stop financing these people, and what do I mean by that? Well, if you keep your hard-earned savings in these financial institutions that are controlled by the globalists, by the New World Order, they'll keep leeching off you. That's what they do. And the other thing I would say, yes, talk about this with your friends, family, colleagues, or anyone you meet, and you start chatting about things. That's the I think the only way to go, because the powers that be, they want you to be divided. They want you to be protesting and breaking things, because then they have a reason to put their thumbs down even more. But I would say that, the only way to go is to be sovereign, independent, and look after yourself. Yes, and use the golden rule as well. The other golden rule: treat others like you would like them to treat you. I think you'll go. It will be a good thing, in my opinion, and that's what I try to do. I'm not perfect, of course, but so let's look at where the markets are then this morning. Yes, it's another bank holiday here in the UK, but the markets are up and running. The world keeps going. And where's Rudy? Well, Rudy is with his mom, with my wife. We have been for a walk already, but he didn't want to come and sit here. So there you go. It's 8:31 a.m. London time. We've got spot gold at 2022.30. It's up just over $5. High's been 2025, and the low has been 2014. Spot silver is up in just 1 cent at 25.67. The high's been 75, and the low has been 25.51. It's still early days to say whether the smash down of gold and silver on Friday is over, but I would say that it's encouraging that gold is held above 2,000. I think the low on Friday was 1999 or thereabouts. So I think the bullion banks probably covered a lot of shorts on Friday. I think we have to wait until later this week to find out with the COT report. Can you trust the commitment of traders report from COMEX? Probably not, but one thing we know is that China and other countries are continuing to buy gold because they see the writing on the wall. And of course, we've got a lot of hurdles in terms of crises to navigate, not just the banking situation, but the debt ceiling situation in the US. That could be quite, it could impact the whole world in a negative way for the globalists, of course. Not if you have gold and silver, and if you've been able to, make yourself independent financially. And some of you might say, well, I have a mortgage, I'm young. Well, you just have to keep going at it. Have a budget. Make sure you have a surplus at the end of the month, not a deficit. Don't run your house like the UK government or the US government or any other government out there, actually. So, to the stock market, the Dow is basically unchanged. It's up 23 points. The Nasdaq is unchanged, and S&P is unchanged. So, fairly calm, the markets right now. The currencies, sterling is up slightly at 126.39. The euro is up 0.2% at 110.40. And talking about sterling and the UK, on Thursday, the Bank of England is expected to raise rates from 4.25 to 4.5. So we'll see what happens in a few days. The dollar is up slightly versus the yen, just below 135. And the dollar is unchanged versus the yuan at 692.07. We'll look at the other currencies here. Aussie dollar is up 0.5% at 67.87. Dollar is down 0.2 versus the Canadian dollar, 133.50. And the Kiwi dollar is also up 0.5% at 63.26. To the commodities, WTI crude is up 1%, 72.07. Brent crude is up 1%, trading at 76 actually. And high-grade copper is up 1.3% at 3.93. And to finish off, we'll quickly look at the U.S. Treasury market. We've got the 2-year yield up 1.5 basis point at 3.94. And what about the 1, 2, and 3 month and 4 month or even 6 month yields? They're up over 5%. Well, part of it is because the Fed raised rates to 5.25, so the 6 month is back above 5. But the 1 month and the 2 month, they're like the 1 month is at like 5.5. And what's that all about? Well, it's to do with the debt ceiling. There could be a lot of activity in these short-term bills if the U.S. defaults, and that's what it's about. So the 10-year is down 1 basis point at 3.43, and the 30-year actually is down 2 at 3.74. So there you go. With that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.